Hello and welcome back. Now to continue with this schema, we need to add another curly braces here. So comma, and then I'll add a curly brace. I'll say version key. I'll set it to false. Okay, now we are going to add a transform method here. Okay, but before we add the transform method, I want to show you something. If I go back to the dev tools, in Elasticsearch documents, okay, the underscore ID is a keyword. You can see underscore index underscore ID is a keyword. So if you try to add a document with this property underscore ID, Elasticsearch will throw an error. And you know, whenever we create a new MongoDB document, it creates this underscore ID property. Okay, and remember, the way we want to implement it is such that once we save to MongoDB, we are going to get the created document, and then we are going to add the document to Elasticsearch. I can just use ES. Okay, ES. So this is the pattern we're going to follow. Well, once we save to MongoDB, then we get the created document and then we add it to Elasticsearch. Now, in the process of creating, once it is saved to MongoDB, MongoDB will create this underscore ID. And we can't use this underscore ID. We can't send underscore ID to Elasticsearch because it is a keyword. You can see it right here. So if you try it, it's going to throw an error. Okay. So what do we need to do? We need to convert it, the underscore ID. We need to convert it to ID, just the regular ID. Okay. So we need to convert this underscore ID that is created by MongoDB, and then we need to convert it to an ID right here. Okay. So if you are using a different process, probably you don't want to save to MongoDB, you just want to save directly to Elasticsearch, then you can auto-generate your own ID. Okay. You auto-generate your own ID and then just name it ID. Okay. So it's going to be the ID that will be used to index that particular document. Okay. So this is very, very important. And now, how do we create or transform a property? Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I will use the to JSON, okay, from Mongoose, and inside the to JSON key, I'll add the transform method. So what I want to transform here is I want to be able to delete the underscore ID. But before I delete the underscore ID, I want to create or set the values of that ID to the new ID property, which is this property we want to use. Okay. So here, underscore doc, this will take the doc and ROET. Okay. Right here. And then here we are going to make the changes. Okay. So we have not added this ID. We have not added this ID. We are going to add the ID using what we called virtuals. Okay. So here I will call gig schema dot virtual. Okay. And then I want to create a virtual property. The virtual property is going to be called ID. Okay. And then dot get. Okay. And then I will use function right here. Okay. Now, so this ID, what is going to happen is I will just return this dot underscore ID. Okay. So for this virtual ID, we are going to set the value to whatever this ID is. That is what is going to be set here. And then here as well, we can still add that. Okay. So I will say ret.id equal to ret._id. And then I will delete this dot underscore ID. Okay. And then return the value. I usually don't even know what this ret means, but okay, it's just like the record. And here, this is the Mongoose document. This is the record, the object. Okay, so this red here, or whatever you want to call it, is, I can call it record. I think record makes sense. Okay, no. Okay, so the record contains the actual object without any mongoose parameter, while this underscore doc contains the actual mongoose object. You know, the mongoose object will contain some other mongoose properties. So this contains the mongoose object with its properties. You can see it's of type mongoose document, while this is just a regular record, which is just a regular object. Okay, so we set the record.id, this ID we are creating right here, to whatever we have, and then we delete. So if we are fetching a new ID from the mongoose database, it is not going to return this underscore ID property. It will only return the ID property right here, okay? Because we want to save it to Elasticsearch without the underscore ID. Underscore ID in Elasticsearch is a reserved keyword. Just like how you can't use, your document can't contain a property called underscore index. It can't contain a property called underscore score. And then it can't contain a property called underscore source, because all of these are reserved keywords. Okay, so we just go ahead and add this to JSON, and then we transform. And then one last thing we need to do right here is just create the actual gig model. I'll call this gig model. It's going to be of type model, so I'll import that, and it's going to be iSeller gig equal to model, and then iSeller gig, and we add our collection. So the collection name will be gig, and you can specify the schema. Okay, so here you specify the schema, and you can add the collection name here as well. Okay, and then here I'm going to export the gig model. Okay, so with this now we have been able to define our gig schema. So for every gig document, these are the properties that we are going to create. Okay, so this seller ID is important because we are going to use it to fetch all the gigs related to a particular seller.